What I'm going to talk to you guys today is, okay, there's lots of changes. What does it mean to you as producers and for you as veterinarians that are in the room too? So I want you to imagine a warm, sunny day. Okay, come back to me now a little bit. A warm, sunny day. You go out to your barn. You walk in and you see 5 good dead pigs. They're kind of pale. You look around. You see a little bit of bloody stools. You think I better get my veterinarian in here. So your veterinarian comes out, and together you post some pigs. You find out that you have ileitis. And so what happens next? You normally, obviously, make a medication plan with your veterinarian, so you decide that you're going to put some Linko in the feed. So currently, what you do is you call the feed mill. Uh-oh. Are they already here? I haven't done anything yet. So you call your feed mill, you order your tons of feed, and you say, I want 100 grams of Linko in the feed. What's going to happen a year from now is going to be a little bit more of a step. So your veterinarian is going to issue a VFD. He or she is going to put in some pertinent information. Just for your information, it's about 20 things that are required on the VFD. We'll fill out the VFD. We'll send it to the feed mill. We'll send it to you. And then at that time, then you're allowed to call your feed mill and say, okay, I want to order this much feed, and I want to put 100 grams of Linko in that as well. So there's a little bit more of a step. And so for a veterinarian standpoint, how we issue that VFD, what we're most used to right now is a lot of us use the Global Vet Link for Palmatil. So you can get on a website, you can fill out the information. If you're not by a computer, which most of us aren't at that point in time, you can get on an iPad or a phone and issue that VFD. The new regulations do allow you to make your own internal VFD at your vet clinic. So if you don't want to do this and you want to make your own, you are allowed to do that as long as you put the requirements that they say that you need to have. So those 20 odd things that they need. So you can fill that out, issue that, send it to the feed mill. So what will it mean to you as producers? I was sitting there thinking, my dad's is a hog producer, and I'm thinking, what does this mean to him? So I kind of broke it down into 4 categories that's probably going to maybe change for you the most. So if you aren't used to having a veterinarian out there regularly, these prescriptions they're saying are good for 6 months. So about every 6 months, it is good for your veterinarian to come in, sit down, talk about your medication decisions, and that way you can prove if somebody comes knocking on your door that you and your veterinarian have sat down and talked about your medication decisions. Routine medications, as Dr. Ruin talked about, will now require VFD. So can everybody raise their hand if they have at least one nursery diet that has Denagard or CTC in it? What about 2 rations in their nursery that have at least CTC and Denagard in it? Yeah, so these common things that we're used to just putting in our feed budgets are now going to require a VFD. So there's a little bit more paperwork and communication that's going to have to happen. And each diet needs to have its own VFD. So you can't just say, for my nursery, I want to put Denagard CTC, and here's one VFD. So I thought I'm very picture oriented, so I thought I would throw up some pictures that kind of explain a couple scenarios. So say you have a 2,400 head sow farm, and maybe you have one continuous flow nursery that you wean into that then in turn goes to multiple finishers. So if you're looking at just your nursery rations, you can make one VFD for that nursery site for whatever you and your veterinarian determine is a sufficient time, up to 6 months. So you can write that one VFD and say, I want Denagard CTC in this ration. Each ration needs to have its own VFD if it is medicated. And so it makes it a little simpler in that scenario because you have one VFD that you need to write. Another example would be I have a 2,400 head sow farm that I wean into multiple wean to finish barns. Do I need a VFD for every site? And the answer is you'll talk through that with your veterinarian, but in most cases, what will probably happen is you would write one VFD and have multiple sites listed under it. As long as you and your veterinarian can explain that you have sufficient knowledge of that herd health for all those sites, then you can write one VFD for a number of sites. That's assuming that they all get fed out of the same feed mill. If they're fed out of multiple feed mills, each feed mill will need a VFD for that diet. So then I was thinking about what kind of challenges are you guys going to have? And so I think about the emergency orders. So you go to that site on that warm, sunny day that seems so far from now, and you see that you have some ileitis, and you call your veterinarian, and they say, yep, we need to get some Linco in the feed. Well, what if you can't get a hold of them right away, and you need to call the feed mill because they're making your feed and you want to get that medication in there? So I do worry about emergency orders and how we're going to handle that so that we make sure if pigs need to be medicated, we could get it in there. I think there's going to be a lot more communication that veterinarians and clients are going to have to do. What if you pick up a new nursery site? We got to get a VFD for those. What if you decide to change your medication? And so those are things that are going to be a lot more communication. And probably the biggest challenge is that veterinarians and nutritionists will now probably have to talk a little bit more, and sometimes that doesn't always go so well. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Is there any nutritionists in here? No? Sorry. Other challenges that you might have is if you make your own feed. They did, and we could probably talk a little bit more about this. As long as you're feeding your own pigs, you do not have to sign up as a distributor. So you are allowed to make your own feed and put that medication in there, but you will still require a VFD. And so we talk a lot about the feed because that, I think, is going to be the most challenging for all of us just because of the number of pigs that are typically on medicated feed, especially in the nursery rations. What if you need to treat them through the water and your veterinarian's 200 miles away? That's a real thing that could happen in the pig industry. And so those are kinds of things that veterinary clinics are going to have to work through because we never want you as producers to need something and not be able to treat your pigs accordingly. Good records, as Dr. Ruin related to, they're here again. With the PQA and the PQA site assessments, we do have pretty decent records. And so, you always want to think in the back of your head, if the FDA is going to show up and I have to prove that I have a VCPR, you want to make sure you keep your herd letters and your medication plans and any communication you've had with your veterinarian, and prove veterinary oversight. And so diagnostics are a great thing that you can prove that you had thought process behind your decision making. So from your side, the responsibility for you as producers, you cannot feed a VFD past the expiration date. So if you have 10 tons of feed left in your bin and your VFD is out, you'll have to call and get another VFD. So never feed a VFD past the expiration date. If for some reason the veterinarian is only sending the VFD to you, it'll be your responsibility to make sure that gets to the feed mill. But in most cases, the veterinarian will likely send it to you and the feed mill. You need to maintain a copy of that for 2 years. And then if FDA would come and want to inspect, you'd have those records for them to see. The VCPR, making sure that you maintain that vet client-patient relationship. And like I said, the prescriptions are good for 6 months, but maybe your veterinarian would say, you got some real health challenges going on. Maybe we need to do every 3 months for right now. So that's between you and your veterinarian. And then always follow the medication instructions of the veterinarian. The days that they're supposed to be on the feed or the water antibiotic, the dosage, make sure that you follow those instructions.